What's shaking? Hey, I'm Rick Jordan. Today, we're going all in. I was scrolling through Instagram the other day, as many of us do, right? I actually don't spend too much time on there, which is great. You know, I write stuff, I look at my DMs, but there's not a lot of time that I spend to flip through things. And I caught something from Jordan Peterson. And if you've never followed the guy, I looked at the guy, I mean, he's actually a psychologist, and his thought process is super intriguing to me. But there was one thing that he was talking about with stress. And I'm under a lot of stress, you know, and I'm like, oh, cool, I'm going to watch this. He's talking about stress. And I started to think about this as he said this thing, which is, I mean, you could say it's a quote, but it was his words. And he's like, if you're not having to think about something big and stressful, then all you'll think about is something small and delusional. I was like, whoa, man, that's deep. Yeah, because I'm thinking about this, like the things that I'm thinking about right now are like, you know, company building and public company and my next speaking gig and where I'm traveling next to and my kids, because, you know, a year and a half, they're 18 and all these other things that I would consider to be big. And that's the point, is that they're absolutely real things. You know, and then I start to think about the inverse of that. It's like, if I didn't have all these things to fill my thoughts, like Jordan Peterson is saying, I'm actually thinking, it's like, wow, what would I think about? And then I start to zoom out a little bit and start to laugh and chuckle, and then also get kind of sad, because I start to ponder all the times I've heard other people say what is actually going on in their lives and the things that they're worried about. And what's crazy is I can't even think of an example right now, but when you think about these kinds of things, it's like, well, have you ever been in the position where somebody tells you something and it sounds like it's the end of the world, and you're like, well, that doesn't really sound like that big of a deal. You know, it almost doesn't even sound like a real thing. You know, like that's even a real thing to be concerned about. That's called life. That's just called life. You know, stuff happens, right? So where it's like, oh man, like, oh geez, it's raining today, you know, and I just got new white shoes yesterday, you know, and now I'm going to have to go outside. I really wanted to wear these white shoes, but I can't wear my new white shoes because they're going to get dirty because it's raining today. I really was hoping it would be sunny because I just bought these things last night at the store, or they just came in Amazon yesterday or this morning. I even overnighted them. One, maybe you should have checked the weather first, right? Before you paid extra for overnight from Amazon or whatever. But you look at this and it's like, that's so like what Jordan's saying. It's like, that's freaking delusional. It's so small. It's not even a thing to be concerned about. You know, that kind of stuff just rolls, or it should just roll right off your shoulders. And I start to, you know, it's not that I was like puffing up my chest as I'm thinking about this, but no, it's more like gratitude. It's like, man, I'm grateful that I'm in the position that I actually have stress. And I was talking with some other people the other day, and I was giving some examples about how stress actually makes you better and pressure makes you better. And I was talking about like in a business sense. And as I was thinking about this, it's like, I want people to gain experience in order to grow. And I personally believe that the only way to do that is with pressure, with stress. You know, and with that pressure always comes a lot of fun, because even in the midst of all the junk that I've had to go through with like a public company, or sometimes if I'm on stage, no joke, it's like this has really pissed me off. One time this happened. It's like 2,000 people in the room, big events, and they're trying to make up some time, so they kill a break, right? A break that was supposed to be right before me when I go up on stage to where I had my keynotes, and They kill the break, they remove it from the schedule, but they forgot to tell the whole freaking room, and like 700 people get up and walk out, you know, because they think it's break time, you know. But these kinds of things, it's like when you have this kind of stress, it can actually be fun, you know. And I'm not talking undue stress, but you have difficult things in life, and the only way to actually grow and gain the experience in order to handle bigger and bigger things is with that pressure, with that stress. When you remove that, what do you have? And I'm not talking about rest and recharge and all that stuff, right? I'm talking about day-to-day life, because still, it's like, you know, I was in Florida just a couple of days ago, weeks ago, I don't remember, but it was soon. And all I did, it was like for the first time in a long time, even in the midst of all this stuff going on that I have right now with business and speaking and podcasting and everything, it's like, I actually just responded to a couple of calls in the morning for maybe about an hour. And then I can't remember the last time I did this, like on a Saturday or Sunday. It was like, you know what? I'm just not going to deal with anything like that the rest of the day. And it was an awesome rest and recharge. But the thing is that those big things, those big stressful things still existed. So when I talk about this and the small things, it's not removing those things from your life. And I'm not talking about rest and recharge. What I'm talking about is day-to-day life. If you don't have big things to worry about, what's the point of existing? Because then all you're going to do is talk about this surface level stuff. And it's sad because I see a lot of this, right? And this has nothing to do with somebody's social status, their economic status. This has everything to do with just what they had to deal with in life. Because growth is essential. Growth is essential to become who you are. And I love being around people that must be everything they can be. That's what they constantly seek after. And the only way to do something like that is to have stress, is to have pressure. And Jordan Peterson could not have said it any better, saying that if you don't have big things to stress about in life, then all you're going to do is be concerned about small things that are delusional. Because it's just, they're not real. They're not real difficulties. That's why he's saying delusional. It's not a real difficulty, a real problem to have white shoes come in and you're like, crap, it's raining. It's not a real difficulty to have your computer suddenly reboot on you. You're like, what the mother? It's not a real thing to actually. I say that because that happened to me the other day, right? At the company, we had a lot of stuff like put in and some new security measures and everything, and my computer just like suddenly rebooted. And in the moment, like, really? You know, I was just looking at it, but then guess what? It was over in like 3 minutes. It was, you know, so it wasn't even a thing. That's why I say that stuff, you know, but it's not a real thing to actually be concerned about these things that are so freaking tiny, that are inconsequential, that have zero significance on your personal growth or your impact and purpose in the world. I hope to God that after you listen to this episode, that you start to seek out some difficulties, that you start to find new challenges, that you start to place things in your life. And I've talked about this actually just with my team the other day, that with a new acquisition, right? It's like I intentionally place things in my life to pull me forward into something, not push me, not motivate me, not that kind of thing. No, because I think that that's kind of a crock at some point. It's like, oh, I need some motivation and everything. It's like, no, I freaking commit first. And that's the difficulty, the stress that I voluntarily put in my life to be like, you know what? I need to be over there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to commit to something as if I was already there, whether that's a financial commitment, a time commitment, a relationship commitment, whatever it is. I am doing that right now as if I'm already in that place. Even though I might not even have all the resources to do it right now, I am committing, because then when it's there, you know, it's just like in my industry, you know, in cybersecurity, you can come up with new tools that can produce new services and revenue. Like if there's a new shiny thing that you can actually make money off of to sell, right? It's almost like, hey, putting a new product on a shelf, like a new, I thought it was a board game. I don't know why, but an image of Toys R Us back. If you ever know Toys R Us, right? Like all of a sudden a new like viral toy comes out or something like that. As soon as they put it on the shelves, it's like, that's when the revenue comes in, but the store has to commit to inventory first. They have to buy those things in order to sell them. So in business, in life, it's like that's the way to continue to propel yourself forward, is actually place these things ahead of you by a commitment from you in order to pull you into that end state. That's what I do. So if it's financial, relationship, whatever, it's like I do it, and it's like now I have no choice but to be pulled into that, but to perform, but to excel, but to grow. And with that journey comes this amazing, and I say amazing, and fantastic and beautiful stress, because it's a big thing that's real, not a small thing that's delusional and inconsequential, that has nothing to do with anything you should ever be potentially concerned about. Go out this week. If you're looking, it's like, oh man, if you're feeling stuck, come on. If you're feeling like, man, I got a bad hand dealt to me in life the past year or the past 10 years, it's probably because you don't have enough difficulty. So whatever it is that you've been dreaming about, all of that, go bigger. Amplify it by like at least 2 times right now. Like if you think that it's too hard, good. Put that difficulty in your life. If you're feeling like you're stuck, the only way to get out of it is to actually put some pressure on yourself. If you feel like you're stagnant, the only way to get out of it is to actually incorporate some stress into your life. Some people will actually tell you, and I've heard this time and time again, that the way that diamonds are made, it's actually from coal and they're compressed. They have so much pressure and that's what forms them. I don't know if you've ever heard that before. It's absolutely true. Go out there and find something difficult because that means you're after something big.